to the Royal Ontario Museum. I'm Gail Gibson. I'm an Egyptologist and a teacher here at the ROM. And for the next little while, I'm going to be your guide as we explore some of the ROM's wonderful collections from ancient Egypt. This classroom uses advanced digital technology to allow you to examine some of the wonderful artifacts that people very rarely get to see. But more of that later. Right in front of you is one of these wonderful computer screens. There's no keyboard. You interact with it by touching it. When you touch an image, it will come up for you. When you want to move it around, just tap the turn button to turn the object, or move and move it around. Just make sure that your finger stays in the black space. Egypt has fascinated people for hundreds of years, and the Royal Ontario Museum has a very long history of digging in Egypt. ROM Egyptologists, that's people who study ancient Egypt, have made wonderful discoveries in the shifting sands of that ancient land. Here's one of them. This is Roberta Shaw. She digs in the Valley of the Nobles at the tomb of a man named Amen. 100 years ago, one of the ROM's founders, Dr. Charles Tritt-Carelli, made many exciting discoveries in Egypt, and some of those discoveries are on display in the gallery right now. But first, let's talk about the land of Egypt. Egypt is one of the world's great ancient civilizations. To the north, the Mediterranean Sea. To the east, the Red Sea. Running through the center of the country is the River Nile. The Nile was very important to the ancient Egyptians. Every year, the Nile floods and deposits a layer of fine silt over the land. That silt is what made the country fertile. When you think about ancient Egypt, you may think of towering pyramids and mummies moldering in their wrappings. But there's more to Egypt than that. Today you're going to become Egyptologists and actually examine the artifacts that these wonderful people left behind. For you to look at today is a cat from our collection. But first, why did the Egyptians mummify animals at all? Some of them were pets. They kept lots of animals as pets. Dogs, cats, monkeys, gazelles, birds. But they very rarely mummified men. The evidence for cats in Egypt goes back about 4,000 years. Their word for cat was kanyu, pretty much what a cat sounds like. They loved cats because they're very beautiful, they're very motherly, and also because the cats ate the rats and mice who were eating their grain. Kitty, is a very popular name for girls, and there are actually two pharaohs named Mr. Tomcat. Cats were usually mummified as votives, offerings for the god. The goddess they were mostly associated with was Bastet. She was a lovely goddess. Kind, gentle, motherly, sweet. Here she is. Beautiful, don't you think? The idea was that if you mummified a cat for her, the cat could then go into the afterlife and live forever. Bastet really liked that, and she might like it enough that she would grant a wish that you might have. To mummify a cat, you have to take all the water out. And that's kind of difficult because most of our bodies are water. First, you have to take out the wet organs, all the wet squishy bits. Then you cover the body of the animal, or a human being if you're mummifying a person, with a substance called natron. Natron is pretty well baking soda, washing soda, and a bit of salt. That will dry out the body and incidentally make it smell a little better. When the body is all dried out after 40 days, the cat or the human being can be cleaned off, washed off, and wrapped up in linen. Our cat here is a particularly fine example. You can see that the face has been painted right onto the mummy. If you look at the beautiful wrappings, you'll see that the linen has been wrapped in a crisscross pattern. That pattern tells us that this mummy comes from the Roman period, about 2,000 years ago. And oddly enough, most of the cat mummies we have come from that time period. Although today it seems rather cruel to sacrifice so many cats, it's important to remember that the ancient Egyptians believed that they were giving these cats the greatest gift of all, the gift of eternal life.